beginning of the year, but it's never too early or too late to actually start.
Show me your calendar and I'll show you how successful you are.
And then you get paid for the time that you punch in, right? If you're not a sales professional, you don't call yourself a sales professional, you don't treat it like a sales profession, guess what? Your clients are going to think the same thing.
I'll be honest, I cannot tell you how many times people get distracted so easily. And he's like, Dean, just tell me, what is like the one thing I can do to become really successful in this business? I said, all right, Phone Warriors Nation, this is a special podcast slash series that Rich and I are going to be doing now for the next few weeks, actually few months. And it's going to talk about everything that has that we've done, Rich, right? That has exploded our businesses, that we've been able to double a transaction count within 2.5 to 3 years time. And it's all the points that we, just basically, hey, we said, look, here are, 17, 25 things, depending upon what the topic we're going to talk about. And this is what it's all about, my friend. So, Rich, I'm excited. Are you excited to deliver the goods?
I'm super excited to deliver these goods. I mean, dude, it was a extreme brilliant idea that you came up with. Because Phone Warriors Nation, we literally, like, what we're about to talk about is just his and I conversation that we have just behind the scenes of what we actually talk about. So we just decided, like, hey, why not just kind of make it public? And then you hear our philosophies and our perspectives, and it's what we use in our businesses from day one, what we still use to today, that's proven, that actually works. And we're excited to share our tips and tricks that we created over the years. So start us off, Dean. What are we actually even talking about today?
Yeah, so the topic today is it's very timely, but it's called time management. All right. Now we all know about time management. It's been thrown around a lot. And so the first point of the 17 that we're going to cover today is at the beginning of each year, right? Determine the number of days that you intend to work by taking a 12-month calendar, crossing out all the days that you plan to work, family trips, vacation, just mark them all up, right? The days that are remaining are the ones that are available to work. So like as an example, I can give you most days that you're working are, generally speaking, like you're probably going to work like around like 220, 230 days, I would say, throughout the year, when you take off some weekends, family trips, everything else. And then you basically have to deduct from that number 20% for sick days and anything else that you just emergency days that come up with family and friends or whatever that comes up. So that's point number one.
Yeah, and you know what? I know it says the beginning of the year, but it's never too early or too late to actually start. We're 9 days into September. You can start this month. You can start next month. You can put yourself onto a 14 or a 15-month business plan, and start in October 1st, right? There's no wrong time. You can either look at the fiscal year, or you can look at it each calendar year. Doesn't matter, but I would definitely go and take that into consideration, because I have it right here. Is my calendar. If you think we're full of it, right here, there is right there my days that I work in. I don't even know what month this was. July, but I have all the months here, so I actually do it. And I know Dean's had it right behind him, and he has.
Yeah, you can see that right there. That's a calendar, right? Because it gives me a pretty good idea, Rich, right? And for everyone that's watching this, it gives you an idea. Okay, I know I have a trip coming up towards the end of the month, so that I know, okay, I only have a certain number of days I can prospect, I can lead follow-up, I can talk with other agents that come on the team. I mean, it's got to be complete focus. And I think if you don't have that, you tend to lose sight of okay, listen, these are the days I have to focus, these are days I can take off. And so you really want to have that.
Of course. All right. Well, with no further ado, we're going to go to point number 2, which is your daily schedule, right? It should be designed around the goals that you have set for yourself personally, right? The stronger the schedule, the stronger the results, is basically the model we always like to live by. So listen, we all have goals at the end of the day, right? You have to write them down on a piece of paper. But if you just write them down on a piece of paper and kind of throw them away and never look at them again, it's never going to come to fruition, right? So you have to create, as what they say, life by design. You got to create an effective schedule every day that's going to allow you to achieve the goal that you're looking for. And if the goals are not strong enough, you're not going to want to do the schedule. So basically, you just have to look at the schedule and reverse engineer it backwards to exactly what you're looking for, and it's going to make you that much better of an agent.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point because also, there's a saying that has gone around that I've heard that, show me your calendar and I'll show you how successful you are.
Yeah.
And there should be things that you're doing every single day that are already implanted in your schedule to get the results that you're looking for. And it's very simple. There's certain activities there. So number 3 is real estate is a professional sales business. Okay, everybody. So just treat it like a real job and your schedule will be a lot easier to follow. Don't like willy-nilly this. Don't just like show up to just show up and like, well, maybe I'll make some calls today. Maybe I'll go a different direction with like going social media or maybe doing direct mail. If you're always trying things like, and there's nothing like a set thing in your calendar to do, I mean, I don't know, Rich, like it doesn't really make sense to be in a business, in my opinion, at that point, right?
Hey, listen, whether we work for a Fortune 500 company or you work at your local grocery store, right? You have to show up, you have to punch in, and then you get paid for the time that you punch in, right? Sales is a little bit different, especially being a professional agent. Yeah, things are a little bit delayed, right? But we know that it goes in 90-day cycles. So if you put all the hard work in now, you're going to reap the benefits much, much later on, 2 months, 3 months. But at the end of the day, if you're not a sales professional, you don't call yourself a sales professional, you don't treat it like a sales profession, guess what? Your clients are going to think the same thing. So you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. So just
Exactly.
remember, we're professional sales agents. That's what we are, professional sales agents. So number 4, when you follow a schedule, right? I'm clearly a schedule guy over here. When you follow a schedule, you are forced to be highly productive with that lot of time. Dean basically said before is if you have too much white space on your calendar, that shows that you're not being busy. And doesn't have to be, I have an appointment at 1, 3, 5, 7. It doesn't have to be appointments, but it could be like, hey, at 8 to 10 a.m. I'm prospecting, and then from 11 to 12 I'm doing my follow-ups, and I'm going on coffee meetings, and I'm doing whatever I want to do. And 12:30 it's lunch. 1 o'clock it's reading and how to maintain the business, and whatever. 2 o'clock it's I'm going to do objection handlers. I'm going to role play, whatever it might be. Things that is going to make you a professional agent, like we said. And you just have to follow the schedule to be productive. Because if somebody walks into your office, that's in your office, and says, "Hey, Rich, hey, Dean, you have 5 minutes." You got to be like, "Look, no, I don't. I have a role play in 5 minutes." Or, "Yes, I have 5 minutes for you at 4 o'clock." That person's going to forget what they wanted to talk about. They just want a water cooler talk, and they just wanted to use your time up. So just follow a schedule. Be productive.
And that's why it brings me to point number 5, which is 50 minutes of every hour should be focused. That's a key word, focused on productive activities that create a profit. So, I mean, we have the PhoneWare community here. We have a great Zoom. We had 27, 28 agents all around the country today, even just this morning. It's still happening right now. And now we can say we're 7 days a week. But let me just be really clear, though. When we say 50-minute blocks of focused effort, I'll be honest, I cannot tell you how many times people get distracted so easily. They want to scroll when the people are not picking up the phone. If you're on a dialer on Instagram or Facebook, you want to, start having side conversations. Look, I'm all about this Zoom and what we got going on, but when you're dialing, be in the moment and be completely focused. I can guarantee you that that is going to lead to much better results if you're focused in 50-minute increment blocks.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, at the end of the day, we need a break to ourselves too. You need to go outside, get some fresh air. You need to, whatever, go use the bathroom, or there's so many different things you can do in 10 minutes. Maybe you need to watch something funny. Maybe something happened in the first prospecting session. You need to go watch something. That 10 minutes is going to come crucial, but just utilize it. Don't make it more than 10 minutes. Don't make it 12, 15, 20, because guess what? Then you're going to, lose a lot more time throughout the day. But you block it out, you're going to be good. Next point, number 6 is, which is what I do every day. Once again, it's written down. Listen, we're preaching what we do. Time blocks of everything I've done, who I called, how long I did. If I went to a bathroom break, I wrote it down, right? You need to block down. You need to keep track of your time every hour for every day that you work. because you need to know what's working, what's not working. So what I wrote down here, what we wrote down here is keep track of your time for keep track of your time hour for 1 week every quarter to ensure you're identifying any weakness. So I'd look at it on a weekly basis because I want to know, hey, did I go to the bathroom and was it really 5 minutes or was it 15 minutes, right? Because 15, if I did that 6 times in a day, well, guess what? Now I'm losing an hour and a half out of my day that is just for nonsense. So keep track of your time and actually go through it and just don't write it down and forget about it. Look at it and be like, all right, I'm calling, let's say expireds, old expireds, and I'm doing it 2 hours a day. I talk to 5 people in 2 hours. That's not great odds. So maybe go to a much higher source that's going to get you better productivity. So there's a lot more ways to look at this.
Yeah. And I also look at this, guys. So now that you guys are watching this on YouTube, I did a time motion study just right there, tracking each hour for 1 week straight. And you'd be shocked, even at the level that we're producing, we still find holes every single time. Like we spent too much time here. Okay, we should have been doing more of here. And it really just sheds a light on really where the focus should be every single day. And number 7 is post your daily schedule for the world to see. It makes it a lot easier for others to hold you accountable. So we talk a lot about accountability buddies or just having some sort of accountability. Rich and I have kept we kept each other accountable, I mean, for years now. And we're very lucky in that sense. And also, though, we wouldn't be doing this still 7, 8 years later of our, having this rapport and this friendship if it wasn't worth it. If there's any value. Because the truth is, Rich, if he wasn't providing any value to me and I wasn't, vice versa, we just wouldn't be talking as much as we would. We probably wouldn't have this podcast even. But I just want to be clear about that if we post our daily schedule and we say, hey guys, and for those on the phone warrior community, all right, I want you guys to post your daily schedule so we can see. And that way it's like, listen, this is what I'm committed to. And you say it out to the universe. You'd be surprised what you can accomplish.
Absolutely. And listen, you said that perfectly. I'm just going to jump to the next point. Number 8, right? You need to set personal goals, right? Remember, there's professional and personal. There are 2 different objectives here, right? So you need to set personal goals to have the proper motivation, right? And to stick to your schedule. You need to strengthen the link between what must be done and what will mean for you to accomplish it, right? Not having the goals will get you excited always causes a time management problem, right? So I'm gonna say that again. Not having goals that get you excited will always cause you to have a time management problem, right? So we need to strengthen that. We need to know what it feels like, right? We need to think bigger. We need to think beyond of what our wildest dreams are, because then that's something that's not achievable. But in reality, if you're achieving different goals as you go, you are achieving certain goals, right? So you just need to strengthen that link and have an internal meeting with yourself and understand exactly what that is, because then that will be the driving factor for you to get to the next level.
And that's the whole point. Is like you're going to have losses, and you're also going to have a lot of wins. And don't get too high, don't get too low. If you don't have those goals that are exciting you, that really are pushing you to the next level, that's why everyone has a time management problem, right? It's like you're just constantly going back and forth, and like these highs and lows, and this business is known for that. And I just hope that point really sits home for you guys. And so number 9 is your schedule should be as clear as reading a job description. Could your clients watch you work and know what activity you are performing? Always work as if your clients are watching. Just think about that for a second. Listen, me and Rich, that's right. If you guys hired us to come over to your office, to wherever you are, and said, hey, listen, you know what, Dean and Rich, I want you guys to just watch me because I need to get my shit together. I need to figure out what this is all about. Just watch me for the day. And you'd be surprised. Like if you knew we were coming to see you guys watch and work and prospect everything, how would you perform? And if the answer is anything different than your absolute best every single day on your own, well, why is that the case? You always have to perform like as if the client, like if my clients ever came through this door, I'd be fine with it. I'm like, yeah, this is what we're doing today. I'm okay with that. But you build to that. And that's something that is super critical.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, that is sometimes the best driving factor for me, is that if my coach was going to sit there and watch me, if Dean was going to watch me, you know what? Like, yes, I go to a totally different level, but at the end of the day, I'm not changing who I am and what my procedures are just because they're there. It's just, yeah, like Dean said, this is what I'm doing. This is what we're up to today. Come on and join us. But at the same time, if they're looking at me and they're watching me, I'm going to go to even a much bigger extreme to make deals happen and wheel and deal. So keep that in the back of your head too. If you have that in you in that moment, you're always going to have that in you and should never let that, never take the foot off the gas at the end of the day. Next point number 10 is look for what's working in your schedule and in your business. If something's not working, go seek advice and just make the changes as soon as possible. They say at the end of the day, if you're going to hire somebody, hire slowly, fire quickly is what the saying is, right? And the same thing should go for you. If you're calling, whatever website leads that came in and you have 100 and you're at number 50 or 60 or 70, not one person has picked up, move on. If you call a particular lead source and it's only one person or two people picking up at a single time, you got to move on from that lead source and figure it out. And the same thing goes for your day-to-day business, whatever that might be. For your admin work, for your systems, your procedures. Like Dean said, you have social media, you have prospecting, any of that. You have to look at it very quickly, rip off the band-aid, and just move on. Make changes.
Yeah, you don't want to stay in anything that's not working. I'll give you another example for us parents out there. As most people know, I have 3 kids, and I mean, Rich knows that thing is thrown a loop, and it was a big issue, a big hole and a gap in my schedule when I started having kids, and I was like, oh my God, I got to take them to daycare. We got to do this. We got to do that. Well, like, I mean, that's a problem that I had to fix as soon as possible. And sure enough, we were working with my coach at the time and ended up hiring a nanny. And I mean, thankfully we were able to work it out and actually make it work from there. So from that perspective, just don't even if it's not working, it's not working, just you got to take care of it as soon as possible and then really address that. Number 11, and becoming good at your following your schedule requires a lot of repetition. Okay, I interjected the word a lot because I think we underestimate how much repetition we need in this business to get really, really good at anything that we do, especially having your schedule and time management skills down. The more you follow it, the stronger the habit becomes. So I'll give you an example. I had an agent today actually call me. He's a new member of the team, and he's excited to get started. He's like, Dean, just tell me, what is like the one thing I can do to become really successful in this business? I said, took a minute to think about it. I was like, there's like so many things to learn, but if there's anything that you should just know, a high level answer to this to that answer is repetition. Get okay with and be good with repetition. The more you do something, the better you're going to be no matter what over a period of time. It's just like investing, right? We always say invest in yourself. Well, investing when you go in, let's say, to the stock market, you're investing into anything. What do they call the seventh wonder or the eighth wonder of the world was compound interest? That's what happens when you are following something constantly and you put all this repetition into it. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, my returns are outsized by all the effort I put in at some point. So that's how I would look at the repetition part of it.
Absolutely. Point number 12 is I'm going to modify this a tad bit. I'm going to read it first, and I'm going to say what I would like to do is you have to review your goals and your results every quarter, right? And if at the end of the day, it's better to adjust your goals on a quarterly basis than on an annual basis, right? So for me is I would look at your goals weekly, if not daily, if you could, or at least monthly. Look at them a lot more frequently than you can. And I wouldn't say jump the gun to try to change where your goals are set up. Just make sure that you're doing every single attempt to be able to achieve those goals. So if it's one deal a month, what are you doing exactly to get to that one deal a month, right? And don't just be like, all right, at the end of the month, don't just cut it off because you didn't get the one deal. You have to also look at it and be like, well, I have 3 or 4 or 5 buyers, 3 or 4 or 5 sellers that are getting ready to go. So you, like Dean said, your compound, you might get that month 3. So you have to kind of look at it, but you need to look at the goals every day. You need to be writing the goals. You need to be feeling the goals. You need to understand what the goals is. And for whatever reason, if you're 6 months in and then you're not on track to hit your goals, then that's a good time to maybe realign new goals to at least make sure you hit some goals. Because listen, I've done it. I've done it where I wrote goals and I know I'm not going to hit them. So I'm like, you know what? I need to readjust to hit this. because I know now if I hit these goals, it's going to follow with what I'm looking for, and then I'll get back on track. Because look, at the end of the day, we all fall off, right? Some goals that you wanted from the beginning, if they're materialistic goals, or if they're outlandish goals where you want to do 200 transactions and you went from 20 transactions to 200, it's not feasible. Things of that nature. So just definitely make those changes very quickly if you have to on a quarterly basis.
Number 13, remember that working 7 days a week is not normal. Everyone needs time off to rest and also recharge. The one thing I will say about building anything great, though, I just want to be clear about that. I did work, I mean, Rich, I'm sure you did as well, 7 days a week for a very long time. Especially in the beginning. Anything that you're doing in the beginning, and you don't have any idea really of how to do something, you're going to be working a lot. But that point is in there, and I even said it still to on this podcast today, was because guess what? Like, it's not normal. And for you to have at least one day of, let's say, not lead generation, just have one day. Okay. And I know that everyone's got a different way of how to look at it. There's coaches out there that we know very well who think 7 days is perfectly normal, especially if you're broke or you don't really have a lot of money. I agree. When you have an opportunity that comes on your lap, for sure. But everyone is different. I could tell you 6 days a week, I'm solid. That one extra day, for whatever reason, like that is really what you need. Because but for the first few years, I mean, it was basically 7, and it still really is. You gotta remember what you're embarking on is a lifestyle. If you think that it's gonna be this 9 to 5 punch in, punch out job, you are sadly mistaken. And really just hang up the license now and move about your day, because it's just not gonna be. But when we say working 7 days a week, I just mean I'm not going to be here where I'm at now and I do my prospecting and I'm just gunning it for, prospecting for 6 hours in a day. Probably not going to do that on Sunday, let's say. But I do agree that we just need that time we can receive business and react to certain things that happen if they do, but understand that everyone needs that one day, in my opinion, to get themselves back into it and also recharge.
Absolutely. You know what? It might not happen, the first year in business. It might not happen, the 10th year in business, right? But at the end of the day, we all come to a roadblock where you just need time to yourself, right? And in that time, listen, I don't have a family, right? I have a fiance and, obviously I have family, my mom, dad, sisters. But, you have a family where you have to watch over, right? So you want to be able to be around with them, right? So why not sometime for you, you're going to do something proactive. So maybe if you're at, I don't know, a park, right? You can maybe talk to a stranger, see if they have any business, right? Like utilize your time effectively. You're dropping the kids off, talk to other parents. Maybe they need some real estate needs, right? And the vice versa for me. Go do something, with your significant other or somebody that's just going to be proactive to be able to get you into other rooms as well. So there's smart ways to take off along with trying to get some extra use out of it. All right, so point number 14, right? There are 5 phases to any trained agent's day. There are 5 phases to basically any real estate agent's day, right? Number 1 is, like I was just saying, talk to people, right? You have to be able to have conversations. You have to be able to generate some leads that are going to come in, right? If you devote whatever 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours seems to be that especially like sweet time, right? In the morning, that's the key, is in the morning, right? Because you want to be able to call certain lead sources. You want to be able to catch some people before they go to work. That's going to be your best opportunity to basically lead generate, which will then lead you into the second part about this of a great agent. Number 2 is lead follow-up, right? Listen, people go to our websites, people fill out information on Zillow, people, whatever. If you do Facebook, if you make an outbound call by yourself because you circle prospect and expired, and they say, hey, listen, call me back, call these people back, right? If they took time out of their day to fill something out, that means they want to be contacted. So contact them back. You have to be able to reach out to the people that either raise their hand, or if they didn't raise their hand, you rose their hand for them and they gave you some information, and it's 2 months later, you're calling them back because they're waiting for the tenant to leave. You have to put yourself in the best position. So it's lead follow-up. Part number three is making as many presentations, but to making sure it's to the right person, right? You got to make sure that that person has their motivation and what we call a qualified presentation, right? Presenting to both buyers and sellers, right? Because now we got to present to buyers. Laws have changed, right? Things have changed. So you have to be able to present. So what does that mean? You got to be able to know a particular script. You got to be able to know how to ask particular great questions to a buyer and seller, right? And how to handle those objections, right? So you got to do qualified presentations almost daily at this moment in time, right? Part number four is when you're not doing any of the top three, right? You have to go and now start negotiating, right? So you have listings and you're going to have to be able to negotiate the contracts, talk to the agent, talk to the seller, get both meetings of minds together and get them over to the attorney review, right? And then let the attorneys handle from there, right? If you represent the buyer, you have to be able to talk to the listing agent. You know, this is what buyer's concerns are. This is the mortgage company. This is our attorney, so on and so forth. You have to start negotiating contracts. But the biggest key here when you're negotiating anything you're doing, doesn't matter you're negotiating $1 or $1 million, right? You have to keep our ego, right? We have to take ourselves out of it, right? Take out the negotiation, look at facts for facts, and that is it. There's nothing else that we're gonna do because then if you start counting the money in your head that you're gonna spend before you make it, you're gonna start getting into bigger problems than you actually wish that you had, right? And the last part, once you successfully negotiate a contract, it's going to be then just supervising the closing process, right? You got to make sure that the inspections are getting done, the appraisals getting done, the mortgage company is doing what they're doing, right? Like at the end of the day, you need to hire a team. So if you're referring people out, you got to hope that the attorney's still doing their job, the mortgage company's still doing their job, title's still doing their job, right? The other agent's still doing their job, right? So you have to make sure you put a little love touches out there. It's like, hey, did you do what you have to do? Those are 2 minutes, but you have to supervise it to make sure you know what's going to happen, which is going to be the end of the road, which is closed transaction, money in your pocket, right? So it's basically doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done to keep the process moving. There's no procrastination in this. It's hey, get it done and move on.
This is what 85% of your day, Rich. I mean, every agent that's listening to this right now. Okay, let me just repeat and recap what Rich had just gone on over. Number one is lead generation. 85% of your day needs to be done with these 5 things: lead generation, lead follow-up, a very aggressive lead follow-up. Number 3 is making qualified presentations, going on listing or buyer net presentations. Number 4 is negotiating those deals and the offers that come in. And number 5 is if you have a great admin, awesome, but supervising the closing, basically getting your deals to the finish line once they are negotiated. That goes through inspections, appraisals, everything you have to go through on there. If you spend, that's income servicing. So I would take the first 4 and really focus on that for you as an agent 85% of the time. The other 15% should be handling any issues that come up that for some reason your admin, if you don't have one, or yourself takes care of. It might be hard to do, but trust me, this is the only way for you to scale and grow the business. And number 15, the morning routine is by far the most important part of the day. This is a fact, okay? From the time that you go to bed the night before until 12 p.m., the following day is what sets a high producing agent apart. This is your money time. It's money time right now between basically 7:30 in the morning until 12. Everything else that happens is a result of how this time is managed. Let's just be really clear. If you were to peel back all the points that Rich just mentioned in the last point, and you said, listen, I can only do one thing today, one thing. Does anyone know what that would be? If I had a room full of agents here that we have, this would be my question. And some people would say, oh yeah, negotiate contracts. Yes, a lot of that stuff doesn't really take that much time. But what does take time, and you absolutely have to do it, unless you have a serious amount of inbound leads coming in and your budget's ridiculous, like, thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands a month to get Zillows or different other things coming in. It's either you're getting super inbound leads coming in or you are calling outbound all the time. That's how these businesses thrive or die, okay? It starts and ends with there. But lead generation is by far, and it's the number one, and really lead follow-up and generation to me are almost synonymous because people are taking longer to move with mortgages being at the rates that they are. and you're just having to follow up a lot longer with these leads now. So keep that in mind, that to me, it goes hand in hand, and I would count it as a contact going forward.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's money time, and that's how I look at it too. For the next point that we have written down is like, look, your morning routine should be guarded. It should be sacred to you as if your life depending on it, right? In your truth, your financial life does depend on it, right? So at the end of the day, you need to keep what's sacred to you. If you have a deal that's blowing up in front of your eyes and it's 9 a.m., put your phone on silent. It's if it's dying and it's going to blow up in front of your face, it's going to happen at 12 or 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So don't let that ruin what you have going on for the rest of your day, right? You need to be able to make sure you have the next deal coming up, because then if you do lose one, guess what? It doesn't hurt as bad, right? And at the end of the day, you'll be able to move yourself forward. So you need to protect that as best as you can, as your life depending on it. It's a life or death situation, right? Because it is 100% true. If that happened day one, and let's say it's Monday, and it happens again Tuesday, and it happens against Wednesday, happens against Thursday, and then you just get around to prospect on Friday, guess what? Now you just lost 4 days. Now you're potentially another week out for your next appointment, and now you lost 2 weeks. And you know how much money that potentially is in earned income if your goal is to get an appointment a day, goal is to get an appointment a week. It's a lot. It's a lot of money when it adds up.
Yeah, I mean, and number 17, to look, if you guys have additional time and for whatever reason you don't have any appointments, you don't have any other meetings, you have no showings, you have nothing else after 12 o'clock, then you need to be prospecting for more business. And remember, all these points today were based on the ethos that we use to close and scale in the last 8 years, 500 million apiece in business. So basically between both of us and what we're doing in our teams, almost $1 billion in sales volume. The only way we can do that and do it with a prospecting-based outbound system, this is what it takes. So I want to be clear about that. If you have nothing else, last point, nothing else going on after 12 o'clock in your day, you need to be prospecting, getting on the phones for more business, lead follow-up, lead generation, because that's really what it takes. And then, Rich, I'll let you
Nah,
finish up with the saying.
this is your realm. I always let you take this. So listen, Dean always comes up with a quote, and to let this quote ride.
All right, poor time management today will show up in your business 90 days from today.
And that's a fact.
Yes, and that is a fact. So this is the first of the next, let's say, 19 or 20 weeks that we're going to be doing our. This is what we have. This is based on our ethos. This is in our coaching and training manuals for our teams and also our greater organizations here at eXp Realty. And if any one of you guys are looking to partner with powerful agents like us, join the Phone Warriors community, be part of what we're trying to do, DM us, reach out to us, and we're happy to take those calls.
We're always happy to take those calls. We're here, just even if it's just questions, whether it's about the organization or just about questions you have about a solo business that you are, or you're running a team. We're both here for that. We appreciate your time, and look out for the next podcast that's going to come out.